Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. This video is, well, it really has been prompted by a couple of things. It has been prompted by all of the excitement around the CGC in-house signings that have been announced. And I've been helping to kind of announce a lot of these signings. It's been a great time to be a YouTuber because there's no shortage of things for us to talk about. But I've spent a lot of time talking about these in-house signings. I've also seen a lot of people on social media put up their posts as they are bundling their books up to send them off to CGC. And I've had a lot of people kind of ask me whether I was going to be sending any books into CGC. And so as I was kind of thinking about all of these things, it hit me. It hit me that I might need to create a video to help people think through just a little bit some of the books that they may be sending in to CGC. Now, what I will tell you is that this video that I'm recording right now is not designed to prevent you from sending a book into CGC to be signed. If you have a desire to get a signature from one of these creators, do not let me stop you. Do not let me stop you. But I do want to offer up a few things for people to consider and things to think about as you're evaluating which books you might want to send in. And so what I want to do is to talk about maybe some, not even a philosophy per se, but a couple of data points that you might want to check as you are evaluating what you're going to do, right? And so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to head over here to CGC's website in a second. We're also going to look at GoCollect in a second because I think that this is a fantastic resource. And there are questions that I get about GoCollect that I attempt to answer one off. And so this video will allow me to answer a question that I get repeatedly. That way I don't have to do one-offs. I can just say, hey, here's a video. But what we're going to do is we are going to take some time to look at the cost associated with a CGC signing, one of these in-house signings. And we are going to evaluate whether it makes sense to send books in to CGC to be signed, clean, pressed, all that other kind of stuff based upon the values of those comics, right? And again, if your heart tells you that you should send a book in, you should send it in. But if you want to use your head just a little, and there's nothing wrong with being all heart, but if you want to use your head just a little or a whole lot, I want to give you a couple of things to think about, a few things to consider. All right. So with that, without any further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen with you. And I'll tell you, I'm not going to do all the math for you guys. You're going to have to do a little bit of the math for yourselves, but I will spend some time kind of walking through some of this stuff. So this is the homepage of CGC. You guys have seen this homepage. I'm sure that this is not your first time visiting. What we're going to do is we're going to click on private signings. We're going to go to the page that has the private signing information, and it is outlined here. And what we're really going to focus on is this box right here. We're really going to focus on this box, and we're specifically going to focus on this column right here that is labeled price. Part of what I want you to do is to evaluate the cost associated with getting these books signed. And honestly, getting them signed is only part of it. So we're going to talk just a little bit about that, right? But as you look down this middle column, you can basically see a range of costs that go anywhere from like $65 for like Tom King and Mike Mayhew, all the way up to, $130. And I'm honestly just focused on the signatures, right? Some of what you actually get down here from Mike Mayhew and Mike Golden, I think, are like remarks and some of those other things. So we're really just focused on signatures, just signatures for the purpose of this. But what we're going to be doing, I think, is highlighting really two legendary creators. But what we're talking about here is applicable to any of the creators that are on this list. It just so happens that I think Frank Miller at his $130 is pretty high, which makes it easy to kind of talk about that. And then also Jim Steranko at $85, a little easier to talk about those. Plus the fact these guys are legends and have lots of books out there for people to consider and people to actually think about sending in to CGC. So it's easy to talk about them, but rest assured that what we'll talk about is applicable to anyone on this list. You want to just give a little bit of thought to some things. But here's the thing, what you get with this price that you see here is essentially a signature. You get expedited turnaround time of 3 weeks on the book that you actually send in, and you basically get a yellow label, right? So they will get it, they will have that book signed, they will grade it, they will encapsulate it, they will send it back to you in about 3 weeks time, expedited shipping, right? Or expedited processing and grading. If you want to get that book cleaned and pressed, because that's technically one service, cleaned and pressed, it is an additional $20 and it's a total of 6 weeks turnaround time. So not 3 weeks. If you want to clean, press, and grading, it is a total of 6 weeks and an additional $20. So for example, Frank Miller, $130 plus 20, $150. $150 if you want a signature, clean, press, grade. That is what you're going to look at. For Jim Steranko, $85 plus 20, you're looking at $105, right? To get a grade clean press. And so none of these actually include shipping. So you're actually looking at some additional cost to ship the book to them and also to have the book shipped back to you. Depending upon how you ship to and fro, your cost will look a little bit different. So we're not going to talk about that, but rest assured that you should factor in the cost associated with shipping as well. And it depends, it depends upon how you choose to ship it, what that true cost will be. But for the purpose of this, we're going to work with 130 and in some cases, the 150. We're going to work with the 85 and in some cases the 105. But rest assured again that there's some other costs here that are not represented. All right. So now that we have that cost and we know what we're getting, we should talk a little bit more potentially about the books, right? And so what I would encourage you to do is to refer to a video that I have on my channel about dirty grading, right? If you have never graded a book, you might want to take some time to do some dirty grading of that book to evaluate the condition of that book before you actually send it in. And I say that because, and this is a gross example, the last thing, potentially, the last thing you want to do is to send in a book that is a 2.0, pay $150 to have that book clean, pressed, signed, and graded by Frank Miller. And that book to be worth $50. You basically spent $150 plus, and the book is worth $50. That is the last thing that you want, right? So what I would encourage you to do, again, is to try to grade, use the video on the channel about dirty grading that will help you to ballpark a grade for that book to make sure that it makes dollars and cents to actually send that book in. And so once you have a dirty grade, then you have an ability to look up pricing. Right. So you want to get in the ballpark. If you can get in the ballpark, I mean, if you're good at grading, hey, you're even better. But if you're not, you want to be able to get in the ballpark. Is it a 4 or is it an 8? Right. I mean, sometimes there are big price differences between those things. So if you can ballpark it, this will help you tremendously. Once you have a dirty grade, then you have an ability to actually look up the value at that dirty grade to evaluate what is the fair market value, what is the FMV of that book. Once you do that, you have a dirty grade, you have an FMV, so you know the value potentially of that book, and you also know your cost. And so now you're in a position of being able to subtract the cost from the value to determine your profit margin, whether it is positive or negative. Again, if Frank Miller is your favorite artist, you send whatever you send to Frank, right? But if you want to use some head, or if you have multiple books that you can send, this process of doing the dirty grade, checking the FMV versus the cost will help you tremendously to maybe decide which of the many Frank Miller or Chris Claremont or Jim Steranko or whoever books that you have. You can decide which one you actually want to send. If you want to use your head, this is one way to be able to do it. All right. So let's go ahead and pop over to the GoCollect website. And this is a site. You guys know I have a very good relationship with GoCollect. I was using GoCollect long before I developed a relationship with GoCollect, but I find it to be a great resource to use. And so the first thing that I want to do is actually want to search for a pretty popular book, one that I enjoy. And we're actually going to search for, not that. We're going to search for Wolverine 1. This is the limited series. I think one of the better Wolverine series that is out there. This was a Frank Miller, Chris Claremont project, and I think other people were involved. But let's search for Wolverine 1, and there you go. Gorgeous cover right there, done by the very talented Frank Miller. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on the title here to be able to drill down. And once here, if you wanted to just check your facts, you can click on about and you will actually get some information. Let's see if you can see that. You can indeed see that. Not always can the pop-ups do the pop-ups display. So, but you can see here that the script was done by Chris. The pencils were done by Frank. So there you go. Just yes, if you wanted to confirm, that is there. So when you first come to the page, essentially what you're seeing here is our blue label books, but we want to actually look at a sign book. We want to look at the values of the sign book. And again, one of the great things about GoCollect is you have that ability to actually look up all types of books, whether they be CGC or CBCS. You have that ability to look up across both of those third-party graders as well as all of their various labels. And so you can see here by just clicking the analyzer, you now have access to refine the sales data. And so down below, you see you have a ton of options here, right? So by default, what you always see is universal, which is the blue label. You want to just turn that off and you want to turn on CGC Signature Series. Once you turn that on, you scroll down to the bottom, you hit submit. And then what you get on the next screen, well, let's see. Okay, it looks a little bit different on this one. If you do it on your phone, it formats a little bit differently. So on the right-hand side, let's make sure to submit that one more time just to make sure that we didn't pull up something incorrect. Okay, so on the right-hand side, what you have is sales by grade. So if you did your dirty grading, you basically now have a ballpark for where you want to begin looking. So let's say you did your dirty grade and you realize that your book might be a 7. So you want to come down here, and what you'll see right away is that this book is actually trending down 33.7%. That's very telling. As is the last sale. That's what this column is right here. It is the last sale. And you can see here that the last sale was a few months ago, but in 2020. Most of these, well, all of these, honestly, have all been in 2020, which is a very good sign. All right. So you can see that within the date range that was selected, there have basically been 3 sales. So we click that and we expand it. And then what you basically see here is the sales data. You can see CGC Signature Series. It's a yellow writing, which signifies that it is a yellow label. You can see that this one was actually sold as an auction with 8 bids on Comic Link. And if we were logged into Comic Link, you could actually click this and be able to see what that price was. But I am not logged in at the moment, so we're not going to do that. But what you can see here is, unfortunately, the last sale before the one at Comic Link was actually eBay, but the problem was that it was in 2019. You can see the cost here of $99.99. So again, if you were to send in a Frank Miller Wolverine #1, you've dirty graded it at a 7.0. It cost you $150 because you got it clean, pressed, graded, and signed, not necessarily in that order. You can see that based upon if this were the data, it might not be a good thing. Even if, again, this is old as well, not necessarily a good thing. We don't know what that is. So and that might be telling. We might click on that and that may say $300, and then you're in a great place, right? But right now we don't have the ability to look at that. So we're actually going to click off of this and let's go up. Let's go up to a 7.5. This one actually shows that it's up 201%. 201.4% increase. Last sale was recent. It was in May of this year, 3 sales. Let's go ahead and click on that and see what it shows. And what you can see here is that last sale was a fixed price sale at a 7.5 on eBay, and the price was $350. So again, if your cost for just clean press grading, all that stuff is $150, a book that is valued at $350 might not be a bad deal. But look down here. And of just a few months prior to that, $66. It was an auction with 12 bids, $66. Before that, when was this? A few months before, right? February, it was $69. $69 at a 7.5, $66 a month later. And then just 1 month, or no, 2 months, no, 1 month ago, It is $350. So that to me is that's a little shaky. That's a little shaky, right? If there were multiple sales within this range, I would have a whole lot more comfort. The 201% is very attractive, but again, you look at what the prices were, and now that's 305. The question is, what would the next one be? If you were to sell it or whatever, what would the next one be? Would the next one be back in the 60 some odd dollar range, or would it be in the $350 range? We don't necessarily have the data. And so again, this is just one of the things that you want to be able to look at to be able to evaluate. But let's go to an 8.0. Let's see what that looks like. There's 2 sales here. The most recent was at the beginning of the year. This one is down basically 67%, 2 sales. Let's click on that. And you can see here that the most recent sale, best offer, wow, best offer at an 8.0 sign was $94.50. And I'm guessing that the difference here is shipping and taxes and all that kind of stuff, $80. But then you look down here in October of 2019, it was $243. So there's a lot of inconsistency is basically what I'm seeing. A lot of inconsistency. Let's go up here. Let's see what happens. We go up to an 8.5. You can see just last month, 2 sales. One of them was $350. One was $145. In all transparency, what we don't know. Let's see if we can click on one. No, I was trying to see if, yep, wait a minute. Okay, that's one telling difference right there. The price difference. That is Stan Lee's signature on that one. Stan Lee signed that one. That one's $335. I was trying to see whether there was a remark, and I was assuming that it was a Frank Miller signature, but that was clearly a bad assumption on my part. But let's click on this one. And this one is signed by Chris Claremont, 8.5, $145. And your cost is $150. Let's click on this one and see what this one is. This one is 2 signatures. No, three signatures. Chris Claremont, 4. Frank, wow. And a sketch. This one has multiple signatures and a sketch and went for $183. Let's click on this one and see what this one says. This is a Stan Lee signature, which automatically drives up the price. It looks like Stan was the only one to sign it. Very, very telling. I wish I had clicked on some of these earlier because that is very revealing. Let's look at the 8.0. Let's look at this one, see who signed this one. Chris Claremont signed this one is an 8.0 that went for $80. So there is some interesting data here, right? There's some inconsistency in the data, but it looks like the inconsistency partly is driven by who signed it. If Stan signed it, it seems to be a book that does a lot better than if Chris Claremont and other people sign it. But let's scroll up. Let's go up here to a 9.8 and let's see what we're looking at. 9.8, you're looking at $1,000. Is that eBay? Yeah, it's eBay. So let's click on that one. This one has been signed 3 times at $1,000 for a 9.8. 1,500 here, 1,200, 749. So again, if you have a 9.8, you're actually not in a bad place. Again, if your cost is $150, that's a sweet place to be. Let's look at this one, $240, 220. Wow, 925. Who signed that one? There you go. That one was signed 6 times. 6 signatures on a 9.6, and it only went for $925 just last month. Wow. Now, wow. Again, I think this is all very telling stuff. My point here is that GoCollect offers you some great data that will be very telling as to what you might want to do with your books, as we just had a couple of epiphanies there on the fly. I honestly did not look at any of these before I decided to do the video. I thought it would be more fun to do it this way. But again, these are things that you might want to look at. So let's look at another one. Let's look at Daredevil 168. This is a great Frank Miller book. First appearance of Elektra, origin of Elektra. Let's go ahead and click on this one and see what this one's all about. So we've clicked on that. We're going to go to the analyzer again. Analyzer gives us the ability to toggle off the blue label and to actually go with the yellow label. We're going to scroll down. We're going to hit the submit button on the right hand side. We're getting some data. You can see that there's a couple of downs here, a couple of down arrows, 21% at a 9.8. 9.0 is down 14%. The 7.0 is down basically 19% at 18.5. You round up. So let's go ahead and click on the 7.0 and see what that looks like. You can see here again, if you're sending it in at a 7.0, you're looking at about $200. The issue here, of course, is that the last sale was actually in 2019. But let's click on this one and see what it is. And it was double signed. This was actually double signed 7.0 that went for $200. Let's close that one. Let's see if we can find a more recent sale. 7.5 here has gone up 43%. Let's click on that and see what this is. This is an eBay sale. Only one at a 7.5, $249. Let's click on that and see. That is, yep, only one signature, and it is a Frank Miller signature here. So a 7.5 basically went for $249.99, fixed price, and you again have a cost of $150. So that's not necessarily a bad deal. Not necessarily a bad deal. Let's go up. Let's look at an 8.5. Nope, not that one because their last sale was in 19. Let's look at a 9.0. Even though it's down basically 15%, the last sale was basically last month, and there have been 9 sales total in the range. So a 9.0, $250 fixed price on eBay. Let's click on that and see who signed it. Signed by Frank Miller, nicely placed signature. See if we can see it. I don't know. Hopefully you guys can actually see those. Yeah, you can still see those. I don't see the signature. Where is the signature? Oh, right there. It is right there. Little hard to see with this particular book, but you can see it's a nice looking copy. Again, a 9.0 signed with nice signature according to, I guess, the seller. So we'll go ahead and close that. But that went for $250. And again, so again, if you're doing your dirty grading, right? And let's say that you come up with your dirty grade is at a 5.0. Might not be a book that you want to send in, because even at a 9.0 with Frank Miller's signature with the recent sale just last month, you're going to be in the hole with that particular book. So you have a couple of options, right? If you do this, you absolutely have a couple of options, and your options are to upgrade your book, right? Because that's always an option to maybe buy another copy of the book if that's what you want to do. You can always send another book if that's what you want to do, or you can just opt out, not to necessarily go with the book at all or that creator, and maybe you go with a different creator. Again, this is not designed to talk you out of Frank Miller's signature. It is really designed to say, hey, think about what you're doing, because even if you're looking at a Steranko at $85 or some of these other folks at $65, you can do the exact same methodology, but using their books, which might actually be more modern books, which means that the grade has to be even higher in order to offset the cost associated with the FMV and the cost, right? So again, this is all stuff that you can take some time to do to kind of think your way through to make sure that what you're doing actually makes some sense. So let me bounce back here real quick. Maybe look at one more example, and maybe we'll look at X-Men 50, because that is a gorgeous cover. That is a gorgeous cover. So let's look at X-Men 54, our buddy Steranko, and his cost is basically $105 if you decide to do a clean and a press, which again, I recommend that you do it. I would struggle getting a really nice book signed without getting that book cleaned and pressed first. So let's go ahead and click on Analyzer. Let's scroll down. Let's toggle off the blue label. Let's toggle on the yellow label. We're going to scroll down. We're going to hit the submit button, and then we're going to look over here to see what these books look like. So let's scroll down. You can see here that a 5 point, nope, let's not look at that one. Sale is too far back. So let's look at a 6.5. It's down 10%, but there was a sale just last month. So let's go ahead and click on that. And you can see here that it's $225. So let's click on that and see what that is. And it is a Steranko signed, which is very nice. And again, a 6.5 goes for $225 against the cost of $105. Maybe not a bad way to go. Maybe not a bad way to go. And so let's look up at an 8.0. Let's click on that. Let's see, $325. And let's see who signed it. signed by Steranko, and he signed in his green right across the X-Men, which I think is really, really fantastic. Scrolling down, you can see 245, you can see 250, going back to 2018. So this book has some pretty good trajectory, right? You're looking at an improvement of basically 46%. 9.0 was only down 6%. Last sale was in 2018. That's a little hard to look at. Let's look here at a 2020 9.2, $500. That's a no-brainer, especially if he signed it, and he did. So there are definitely some books that are much easier to actually send in to have somebody sign, especially if those books are already valuable books to begin with, and or actually are pretty high grade. So again, what we're talking about here is, I think, applicable to just about any of the creators that were on that list. So hopefully this helps. Again, one of the cool things about GoCollect is that you have the ability to pull up this FMV information and to actually dig into the sales data, because there's a lot of really good data here, especially if you're talking about, blue labels, or if you're talking about yellow labels, or I mean, honestly, the CBCS stuff is all down here as well, right at your fingertips. The last thing that I will tell you, possibly, unless I go to another point, one of the last things that I will tell you is that if you don't have a GoCollect membership, fret not, because if you head over to my website, regiecollects.com, and you go to the partners page, on that partners page is a promo code. That code will get you 30 days free access to GoCollect, where you can actually try out all the features and functionality, all the bells and whistles, and determine for yourself if this is something that you want to do. I've had my GoCollect membership for more than 2 years. Even though I have a relationship with GoCollect, I still pay for my own membership because I believe in the service and I use it often to buy, sell books. And so I would definitely encourage you to give it some consideration and figure out whether this is something that you also want to do. All right. The other thing that I will tell you, see, I told you. Now, the other thing that I want to tell you is that if you have not yet signed up for a CGC membership, there is a link, an affiliate link in the description of all my videos. If you are thinking about getting a membership, I would ask that you consider clicking on that link and signing up with CGC. They actually give a few dollars back to the channel. Technically, it's not money. Technically, what they give me is credits, and the credits allow me to send books in, get books graded. Those books come back. I make videos about those books, and the process and the cycle kind of completes itself. So if you are thinking about getting a membership, I would ask that you also consider whether you want to click on that link and send CGC a message that the videos, the content that is here on the channel was helpful to you. It sends a really clear signal to those guys. So I want to thank you in advance for the consideration. And I also want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you found it informative. And if you did, I definitely want to encourage you to hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment behind so we can mix it up in the comment section. If you need to reach out to me, you can do that on the Instagram machine at Regie Collects. And if you want to send me an email, you can actually do that as well at reggie@regiecollects.com. And as I mentioned, there are discount codes for my various partners on the website. So if you want any of that information, you just head over to regiecollects.com. It is all there for you. Thank you very much, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.